Restart my computer though because my internet is weird again.
Okay, yeah, I'm showing a little red, but we've got
I'll
5
be back
minutes.
shortly.
Yeah, 5 minutes, we'll get started, plenty of time. All right, let's see.
There, my internet's better now.
Okay, we still have 3 minutes. right. Okay, we have a fair amount of material to cover. So let's get started. Typically, I kind of allot a fair amount of, like 15 or 20 minutes to kind of regroup after the midterm. However, I probably only have maybe 25% of the midterm graded, so I don't have a good feel. The ones I did grade looked really good, but I don't have a lot of feedback on the midterm exams. So we're going to go into chapter 9 and chapter 10, and then if there's any issues with the midterm, or if you have any questions, when we come back after break, you can ask, and I will work on that. All right, Samuel. All right, let's talk about chapter 9. So segmenting, targeting, positioning, right? So little note here, if you look at the textbook versus the chapter that I have, it's a little bit different because I find that this works better for most adult learners versus the textbook that's geared towards non-adult learners. So market segmentation, we've already looked at some of this several times, right? Chapters 2, chapters 5, and chapters 8, right? Because a lot of the concepts in terms of segmentation are the same. High crystal are also tackled when we look at that external environment. All right, I'm just making sure I have everyone on attendance, and okay, we're good to go. Right, so you're going to see some of the same terminology. We're just going to take a little different view, right? So we've got the data, the information that we find when we go into our external environment, but now we're thinking of it from a personal perspective. Like, okay, what of these commonalities of these segments that we've put together, right? So a segment is just like kind, right? So if I'm looking at geographic segmentation, it is who lives in a certain area, right? That is a market. If I am looking at age, it is by age segmentation. We're going to get into things like psychographic and using a couple of tools. So that being said, you might want to open up another tab to the internet, just because I'm going to have you go into and look at a way that we use one of the tools that are used in psychographic segmentation in a little bit, right? So again, when we're looking at segmentation, we can take a look from a broad perspective all the way to a very niche perspective. So when we're looking at a broad perspective, right, it is mass market. So mass market segmentation is not very common anymore because we're in such a competitive market, and when you have a lot of competition, you can't be undifferentiated, right? We've talked about this before, where even like milk is differentiated now. Milk used to be very commoditized, and now milk is very differentiated compared to what it was even, say, 10 or 20 years ago. So the mass market thought process is kind of coming out of realm, where we are looking at what we call differentiated marketing. So, for example, a way of looking at this might be if you think of Procter & Gamble, and if I asked you to list some laundry detergents, right? List some laundry detergent brands, just off the top of your head. Laundry detergent brands, okay? Yeah. So that's a Procter & Gamble product, is Tide. What else? All, I believe, is a Unilever product, okay? So Free and Clear is that the brand, or is that product type? It goes, yep, honestly not sure. Yeah, Like Eco's 7th generation are some of the newer ones. Okay, Purex, yep. Firstfill, which is a Unilever brand, right? Dreft is a Procter & Gamble brand, right? So even if we had like another couple of minutes that we gave it, we would have probably well more than a dozen types of laundry detergent brands. Well, of that, Procter & Gamble owns like half of them, right? So Procter & Gamble laundry detergent brands are Tide, Gain, Era, Dreft, Ivory. Those are all Procter & Gamble. So why does a Procter & Gamble why does one company have so many different brands? Well, part of that is it appeals to different segments. So think of the concept of segmentation as like, right? Like attributes. Now, a Procter & Gamble with so many different brands of laundry detergent can have several different strategies, right? So there's a consumer strategy that they use, and they may also have what's called a market concentration approach, which is where they're focusing on a single market. But an example of how that might be used is Procter & Gamble has a specialized brand or a specialized formula of Tide, and it's specifically for industrial laundries. Right? So the customer segment is industrial laundries, right? It's got to be a special type. So Procter & Gamble developed a product to fulfill that very focused single market segment. But it's a product development off of Tide that they've already had for ages and ages as well. Niche marketing is going into something that's very, very specific. So an example of niche marketing using laundry detergent is there's a detergent called Win, and it's specifically marketed just to sports enthusiasts. So the whole concept of Win is saying that it's specially formulated to be used with the type of apparel that heavy-duty sports enthusiasts use, and it cleans that type of material better. So it's a very small market segment when you're looking at the big picture. That's just called niche marketing. So the segment would be those who are sports enthusiasts, and they probably even make it even a smaller niche based on income. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so even that, that Win brand, it's been copied, right? That's why we've got, so even something that's made for a small niche has been copied and by other laundry detergents, and so there's still competition even within these small niches. Yeah. So we're just in a highly competitive area. Everything is copied. Okay. So we've looked at, like I said, that external environment. So we looked at that geography, the demographics. So we're going to take another look at that again. But where you've looked at the external environment and tried to define trends, right? What is happening in the external environment that I need to be aware of? That's how we looked at it before. Now we're saying, okay, here's that external environment. Now, how can we take and make little groupings that are like? So again, demographic might be population, gender, income, right? So I might start to put in. So I kind of sometimes like to do a little visual. Say, okay, so we have little pockets of like-minded things that we call, those little target markets. So it might be, okay, so here we have, we're going to look specifically for the female gender because that's the product that fits with that. And then we might take that even more so and not only have females, but then we might have females that are only 40 to 60 and defined by household income. So this is our grouping here that fits. And we get that kind of picture of our target person that we're trying to reach. And then we might have another grouping based on, okay, females, and maybe it's age 20 to 30 that is going back to school. And that might be my next segment that I'm looking at. So I kind of had these little pictures of of what I'm trying to reach. So we're going to focus on demographic, touch a little bit on geographic, and then spend most of our time on psychographic and how we get those segments together, right? So we've talked about gender, age, income, education as part of that external environment in chapter 5. And we use it again in segmentation because it's kind of easy, right? It is easy for us to get information on, okay, if we look at, how many females between the ages of, 40 and 60 are there in the geographic area that I'm trying to reach. I can find that data and I can find it relatively easily because we've got all kinds of census data and marketing data that's available. So demographic is much more straightforward in terms of what we can find. Psychographic is a little bit more, I like to call it fluid, because that deals with why we do things, right? Motives, attitudes, opinions. Yes, how we view ourselves and how we view others, right? So it's a view of self, a view of community in general, view of, so much more open-ended. It's much more difficult to try to define because you guys know, right? Sometimes you have a certain motive and like, okay, I'm not going to buy, this chocolate bar, I'm just not going to do it. And then all of a sudden, there's a couple of other situational differences that occur, and, you buy the chocolate bar, even though, 2 weeks ago you didn't. Well, now you have a different external circumstances that change your motive, your attitude. Yeah, stressors, all kinds. So what it is psychographic. We try to look at some of those, but we can't define everything. Because a lot of times we don't even know internally why we're doing it. Now that being said, this is getting to be much more of a science, right? So that science is called behavioral science areas of marketing. Have you guys ever heard of behavioral science as a degree? Yeah. Anyone else ever heard of behavioral science as a degree? Yeah, it is. It's one of the fastest growing areas in terms of degrees. And it's used, I actually use this as an example when I teach corporate strategy, because when we look at some of our internal components of corporate strategy, right? So a company, we've got internal, external, right? So our internal, we have things like HR, our corporate culture, all of those types of things. And what we find on successful companies is they have a very strong culture. So it's like, okay, well, tell me what makes a strong culture? And it's the people that are there. A lot of times it's how leadership kind of sets the tone. Well, part of a strong culture is really having a good HR department, right? So that's kind of foundational as well, that HR is engaged and aware of everything that's going on, just like we're talking about in marketing, right? HR should be aware of what types of things are changing in the external environment. How is that going to potentially affect my business? How I'm going to be able to provide a good culture for our employees, or assist with providing a good culture for my employees. And one of that is in HR, it's kind of like a subset, is behavioral science. And it's looking at how can I make employees happier? Have any of you guys ever heard of that? Like, as part of HR? Like, what do I need to do to make employees happier, equating happier to more productive as well? So it's part of that HR subset. And it's marketing as well. It's interesting. So like you have surveys at work as, what is important to you. How do they do those surveys, Heather? I'm just curious. Like is it a ranking, like on a scale of 1 to 10? Like how are the surveys actually, they say anonymous, and they should. Okay, so how important things are, kind of a question on culture, what you like and that you don't like that are important. Yeah. And now that has, yeah, I'm kind of with you, Caroline. I totally get where you're coming from on that one. But yeah, so what it is we're we're figuring out really fast um, that things are different when we're looking at culture and how culture is shifting and what's important in terms of employees. So our companies internally are having to adapt to that. So the same concept that we're looking at in marketing is, cross-functional throughout the entire corporation when we look at behavioral science. In this case of marketing, we're looking at it from a consumer perspective, but the same type of science and research applies to internally. If I don't move around enough, the lights shut off, so that's why you see me walking around, because all of a sudden I'm in the dark. So if you see like the corner go dark, it's because I haven't moved enough and the lights went off. All right, so one method that's used in psychographic segmentation is called a VALS, V-A-L-S, and it's kind of a survey, and there are definitely some pros and there's definitely some cons to the survey. But what it is I'm going to give you 5 minutes to go through and kind of complete this survey. So let me, oh, shoot, I didn't download it. Let me download this, get into my content area, and I'll put it, for those of you who didn't download the, are you kidding me? There we go. Oh, thank you, Scott. Gosh, it takes forever on this computer. Okay, thank you, Scott, for putting it. All right, so let's see. It is 6:17. I don't want you to rush. It won't take you very long. But I'm going to give you until 6:25, like a nice even number, right? So I'm going to give you 8 minutes to take a look at this, kind of play around a little bit, look at it. So at 6:25, I'm not going to put you in a group, but in 6:25, I'll start talking again. All right, so go ahead, open up that, take a gander around, and then we'll All right. All right. Okay, there's a quick poll. Oh, reasonably, should have Y, reasonably. Okay, there we go. I usually get about 60-40. So yeah, interesting. Okay. Right. Let me. Yeah, there's definitely critics to the use of this. This has been around forever. This has been around, I think, since the 70s. Let me check. 1978 is when this was developed. I mean, obviously, it's changed a little bit over time, but yeah, it's been around for quite a while. It's based on, if you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy. Maslow was one of the components of pulling this in terms of that. So yeah, so usually, like I say, I get about 60% that say yeah, 40% no, in terms of whether they think it fits or not. In essence, what it is there's two big ways of breaking it down. One is called innovators, which tend to have a fair amount of resources, right? So this is going to be based on some of just that straightforward demographic. Do you have, the resources to, to use, I guess. The more resources you have, the more marketing type of decision you're going to make. Yeah, so that's interesting. And sometimes, I actually did mine, again, I'd done it years ago as part of this, and then I'm like, okay, you know what, we've got 8 minutes, so I actually went in and quick did mine again to see if my thoughts, attitudes, or motives, if things had changed. And you know what, it was the exact same as when I had taken it before. Yeah, and there are things that you're right, like I don't make anything. I don't do anything crafty. That's just, I cook. But so when it asks about, okay, do you like to make things from, things, it's like, well, if it's cooking things, yes. If it's anything other than cooking, the answer is no, because I don't. It's just not my. So how we even perceive the question sometimes is interesting as to how we would answer it, and that's one of the thought processes as to why this might not be as effective as it once was. Because again, we look at things differently. We've had different sets of experiences, a much broader range of experiences that we use in terms of how we answer. But from this perspective, it kind of breaks things down into two areas. One is, oh, hi Jade. One is, we just did a VALS survey, so we just came back from that. So we're looking at psychographic segmentation as part of our STP formula. So let me just get that written down. All right. So two basic, innovators, high resources, and again, that's going to be based on demographic information. Do you have the income to support high purchases or a lot of purchases, and then survivors? So that's our big. And then of that, we have our two groupings. So we have these three that come along more on this side and these three on this side. So what these groupings do is just kind of talks a little bit about what they are, right? So in general, if I'm up on more of the innovation side, right, they have higher incomes, and that tends to also bring along different attitudes, right? So having abundant resources also will sometimes lead to higher esteem. Image is more important. Independence, character, you know. So our consumer choices are going to be different on the innovation side than if we were on the survival side. And that just kind of makes sense because if you don't have a lot of the resources, you're not going to tend to have, you know, you're not going to go to expression of taste. It is based on more of that need versus the want type of thought process, type of purchase. However, these tend to be brand loyal. So, you know, they've tied some of the brand loyalty into that grouping as well. So what would be maybe an example of product or services that would take, and this would be their segment that they're trying to target market, right? So this would be the target market for them. This is who they're trying to reach in terms of, so what would be some product or services that are trying to reach survivors, those that are in that survivor? Yes, so what kinds of things fulfill basic needs? What are some products and services that fulfill basic needs? Yes, what specific types, yes. So, but, you know, if I am Win laundry detergent like we just talked about, am I going to be trying to reach survivors? Hmm. Yeah, so it might be some private labeling, it might be, yeah, you know, and, you know, it's not necessarily that there's no income. It's just, yeah, it might be store brand, or it might be that there's a specific, yeah, there might be certain geographic components to it. Like, for example, I used to work for a distributor in Milwaukee. And this distributor kind of supplied Shopko, but it also supplied a lot of the like the True Value hardware stores with several items. So the True Value hardware stores throughout the state, or a lot of in the Milwaukee metro area, were our customer base also. And there was a True Value hardware store that was very, very successful in a more income challenged area of Milwaukee. And how this hardware store came to be so successful is they understood the market, they understood some of the challenges with the market that was right near them, right in their community. And like, for example, they sold toilet paper not in a pack of, not in large, they sold toilet paper by the roll. Like, so they individualized items to make it affordable. And it wasn't like cheap toilet paper, you know, so they would take nice toilet paper, but they just kind of packaged it differently and sold it differently so it fit the particular segment that they were trying to reach, right? So think of it in those terms. It doesn't always have to be, yeah, yeah, it was. It's an idea, and it did well for the community, and it did well for them, and it was this nice. So the thought process, you know, now in that case, they knew their market very well, and that's what we want, right? We want to know our market, so we want to know, okay, is it going to be better to be like a basic type product, or, you know, do I just have to maybe change my packaging and supply something different, right? We have many, many choices as to how we can reach this particular target. what are some examples of product or services that would go with this, with the innovators? Yeah, yeah, very good. What would be some innovators? What would target innovators? Yeah, yeah. And I would say a lot of cases, even like your, you know, yeah, we're going to take a look at Coach purses. Yeah, your luxury brands. Yeah, Apple. Now, do you think Apple is sold to lower income? Do you think lower, if you had to just look at it from the amount of income, do you think people that have a lower income? Yeah, I think they do. I think they do. And that would be a great question, you know, our iPhones sold to low income. Okay, so here's the deal. Apple grows 2020 market share by appealing to lower. So Apple's share by income level was relatively consistent. Um, it surged from 35 to 39%. Now this was 2020, and it was just, I didn't really, but yeah, so what it is it may not be the newest version, but certainly it's being sold because they have almost 40% of the market share of phones into the lower income defined. Now, that being said, um, yeah, okay, it's communicated in a way, which again, we're going to talk about how do we communicate. Let's go through a couple more of these, but you get the gist, right? So if I'm a thinker, thinkers tend to be mature, which is just a nice way of saying older, right? Tend to be older, well educated, leisure activities. They like to, um, center around their homes, knowledgeable about world events, open to new ideas, social change, um, rational decision makers, right? So what would be an example of a product that you think would appeal to someone with with this type of belief, attitude, thought process? Okay, what would appeal to thinkers? What would target thinkers? Kendall? Like what are leisure activities that center around their homes? What would that look like? Yeah, yoga practice. Yeah, outdoor grilling. Thank you. Yeah, like these are the people that you're going to try to sell. I don't know, and maybe you guys have this. Do any of you have like, the grills that are like, I don't know, $2,000 or something like that? You can run it off your smartphone. You know, I don't grill, but yeah, I don't know the name of them, but like at the campground, once one of the guys at the campground got it, then all the guys had to get it too. But it's like this grill he runs off of his phone, and I don't know. I'm not a griller, so it was completely above my intellect level. Um, but yeah, things like that. Any of the smart home brands, that kind of stuff is going to appeal. So, and great thought process, Angela, right? It doesn't always need to be something tangible. It can be, hey, I'm looking at experiences. So again, yeah, the pet auto feeders, I used, in 790, we looked at one of the classes I teach in corporate strategy. We deep delve into the pet industry for a couple of weeks and look at it from a strategic side. And the automatic pet feeders is what one of my slides as far as like new innovations that came onto the market. Yeah, pickleball's been the craze for a while now too. Um, yeah, which a great resurgence for where I work out here in Green Bay is a tennis club. that great resurgence for them to stay alive, right? Because pickleball's now popular, tennis not so much. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, a microchip reading. Does anyone else here have a microchip reading cat door or dog door, I guess? Know whether your pet is in. I am at the Green Bay Center right now. Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Why?
sorry to interject on class time. I am in Green Bay right now. I'm at a conference here in Green Bay. So I'm at the Hilton by Lambeau Field. And I was wondering if you were at the center, and I was like, gosh, I could like show up in class for real today.
Oh, you could have. Yes, I am in class for real. Oh, I just saw Ian. Come on. All right. Yes, I am here on campus because I prefer coming to campus because my house is a zoo. And if I try to try to do lecture from my house, you hear my dogs barking and, it's just crazy. So yeah, so I am here, and you can kind of see, and I guess in the corner, there's no one else here. I'm the only one in this room. But we do have a bunch of counseling. So yeah, you could have come to, by the time you get here, we would be gone, but no problem, Ian. So I'll connect with you. So having fun in Green Bay over at the Hill. Yeah. Oh, are you? Oh, you're more than, actually what it is you'd have to let me know when it is because the doors lock at 6:30, so I'd have to come and let you in. Once you got here, I'd have to somehow connect with you to let you in the door. Yes, next time let me know and and our maintenance guys in here today or else I'd have him kind of just sit outside. But yeah, he's not here. Sometimes we have a gentleman that comes in and does some cleaning at night, but Rick's not here tonight. So there's no one left in the office to open the door anymore. Oh, well, welcome to Green Bay. All right. So you guys get the gist of so when we're looking at segmenting from a psychographic, this is one of many, many tools that we can use. So I'm going to let you guys read those slides on your own. And I'm going to move on to geographic segmentation, right? So looking at population and flows. So one of the ways we might use geographic as part of our base is like, would it make sense for McDonald's to spend resources developing McTaco in Wisconsin? Okay, so you work for McDonald's. As part of McDonald's, they're always on the lookout for what they call product development, right? Looking at new products that would appeal to the market in general. So it can be a broad perspective, right? That we talk about that mass marketing, or we can look at it from a segment. Right? So if we just took and looked at Wisconsin, right? So from a geographic standpoint, right, we can look at it that there's certain things that people in Wisconsin do differently than people in Texas, right? So what are some of the things that, like from a food standpoint, is popular in Wisconsin, but isn't really popular in Texas? For those of you who live, okay, so Culver's is a restaurant, Brats is a big thing, right? Brats, cheese curds, another great example, right? I don't know if they even know what cheese curds and brats are in Texas. I lived in Texas for a while, and I would always bring back cheese, just cheese in general. They would always have me bring back really good cheese. Everything quick trip means, yeah. Yeah, Arizona doesn't know cheese curds either, which you think there's enough people from Wisconsin that are snowbirds there that they would get it. So maybe that's a potential market opportunity in Arizona is to bring brats and cheese curds there as we see the population flow from Wisconsin to Arizona change. Yeah, old fashions. Yeah, that's a food, right? And it's different though. They make their old fashions different than we do here in Wisconsin, or at least here in Green Bay. Yeah, when you have to ship cheese to all your friends because they say our cheese tastes better. Yeah, so if you're McDonald's, right, and you're looking at developing a McTaco, so let's kind of baby walk this through. So first thing we might look at, right, is there an upward swing in Mexican style food? Now, I'm not going to ask you to research this. We're not going to take the time. So just what you think, right? We're just going to use our opinions, which we would not do in real life. Yeah, I think so too. I think that there's just a general uptick. And we can see it by the success of Chipotle and Qdoba and Taco Bell, right? Those are all, that's their product mix. So if they've been doing well, I think that there's probably an uptick, okay? So we know that food segment that is growing, okay? So, but yeah, like the traditional Mexican, but even like Taco Bell isn't like really traditional Mexican, is it? I mean, like I don't know. So think of it like a Taco Bell type taco, right? Kind of thing. A fast food taco. That would be the best. A fast food taco. Yeah, there are a ton of home style Mexican places, but again, we've got like Qdoba and Chipotle, Moe's. Those are all fast casual restaurants that are doing quite well in terms of growth. So that we do know, right? So let's just surmise that there's an uptick in that, right? Yeah, Taco John's, another great example. So there's a demand for fast casual, fast food style Mexican. Okay, we're going on that. So would it make sense for McDonald's to spend resources developing a McTaco? So let's go back. What are the core competencies of McDonald's? What does McDonald's do better than their competition? What's their competitive advantage? So they have excellent branding, they have consistency, it's quick, and relatively cheap. They're fast, right? They are the fastest. So in marketing and strategy terms, we call that operational efficiency. McDonald's has a high level of operational efficiency. They have a very strong system of being able to take things, think of it like that just-in-time, Toyota thing. They take and they just have this very efficient product line. I will tell you, the inventory management at McDonald's is a thing of beauty, right? They turn their inventory, so fast. It is almost like daily. It's crazy how well managed their operations are in terms of like inventory and getting things out quickly. So is it easy to get a McTaco out quickly? That would be one of the things we'd want to look at, right? So does it make sense for us to, is that something that would be amenable to their operational efficiency? Yeah, it's fast, I think so. I mean, Taco Bell does it. So if Taco Bell can do it fast, McDonald's can probably do it fast. So, yeah. Now, it's not on a bun. So it would kind of be like, boy, now that's something else we'd have to think about. Right? It's not, it's kind of a different type of process. Does that fit with our, so McDonald's would want to think through all of these concepts. Yeah, and maybe there's a way, you're right, to kind of maybe deep fry the whole thing and make it, what is the deep fried Mexican thing? Chimichanga, thank you. Yes. So maybe it is not a McTaco. Maybe it's a chimichanga that they can deep fry instead. Okay, actually that might be actually a really good idea, to be honest. There would be a way to deep fry that. I don't know if it would work with the fries, but from an operational standpoint, that would be a work of beauty if they could figure that out, how to do that. Anyway, you guys, that was a great thought process. That's what should be done in businesses. It's just like we're doing now. Like, okay, you know, all of these things are going on out in the marketplace. What are we going to do to make ourselves different? You know, how can we develop something new? Yeah, you know, coming up with things like this, just sitting around and kind of brainstorming some ideas. Okay. So that's what. Now we are actually going to take a look at McDonald's, and we're going to use that as part of our Chapter 10 market research, where you guys are going to be able to do a little bit of research and thinking. I've just kind of set the tone just a little bit. Right. So once we're done getting all of those segments together, figuring out what segments we go and we start to evaluate. Segments are there. We take a look at all of them, all of our data, and figure out which are the best for us. You know, which of those am I going to be able to provide value for to the greatest extent? So what I'm offering, my product value is going to match their need. So once I evaluate, right, and there's many, many different ways that we can look at evaluating, again, lots of terms, but the whole gist is matching what we're offering with what is needed in the market. And once I got that, then I start to position. So positioning is our promotion component, right? So think of positioning and our fourth P, our promotion, as working together, okay? So that is communication. How am I going to communicate? What am I going to communicate to that target market? Now there's many different ways I can position. One of them is by attribute, meaning my communication is talking about the attribute that the product is offering that's going to be found beneficial. So for example, this I pulled from Coach, right? So looking, and it is part of a visual type promotion that's appealing to their American Dreamers product line, and who they're trying to reach with these American Dreamers. Well, if I ask you, who do you think the target market is for this American Dreamers product line, looking at what they're communicating, right? So this is one of the snapshots. That's what they're visually trying to say here. This is our new luxury handbag. Who do you think they're trying to reach with that? Give me some attributes. Female, yes, right? Yeah, young, kind of trendy, going to be, you know, if we had to kind of come back and look at maybe some of that value, it would tend to be more, yeah, that innovation component to it, because it's going to be, you know, these things are pricey, so they've got to have disposable income, or have parents that have disposable income, even if they themselves don't, right? Yeah. All right. Now, what I'd like you to do, hey Scott, can you take this and copy this again, so I don't have to open it up again? So I want you to just kind of take a look at this YouTube video for Coach and just kind of compare it and see what that has. So let's just take a second or two, it's not very long, and then come on back when you're done. Yes, I, okay, now ask me, when you guys first went to it, did you guys get a pop-up of, 10% off a $150 or more purchase? You guys get a pop-up? That in itself tells us information. Okay, interesting, thanks. All right. Yes, Caroline?
Have you looked up this coach thing before on this computer?
Not on this computer.
Oh.
So I'm wondering, yeah,
Well,
if it,
even if you logged in on like a Google account or Outlook or something, it's tracking you. So Coach knows that you've looked at Coach before and you didn't buy anything, so now they're offering you a coupon.
which is so funny because like, if Coach knows anything about me, it's like I would never pay that much money for a handbag, which is
Yeah,
so
right.
funny. Yeah, like, isn't it funny though? Like sometimes where like you get this tracking, like after you bought something, I'm like, why would you keep tracking me? Because I already bought it. It's
I get advertisements for stuff that my husband has looked up, but I have not looked up on my like personal phone or anything. So,
oh, because I can always watch to make sure when my kids are doing something that they're not. Because all of a sudden, yeah, I'll get these feeds. Dude, stop watching this. Not like bad stuff, just stupid stuff. Um, yeah, I probably wouldn't even for a loved one. My loved ones know. I will never spend $150 on you. I just won't. I'm one of those weird people. I don't like on the Val segmentation, like I don't care anything about fashion whatsoever. If I can go in my yoga pants and my Land's End fleece, I'm a happy camper. So it's so funny. I don't know what I would be in what segment in that particular. Yeah, so you're right. I mean, obviously a very specific segment in terms of Coach Bag. The YouTube video, way different. Look than our American Dreamers product line, kind of laid back, definitely younger, going for that younger component, bringing in the male component of it as well, not just strictly into female. So we can tell a lot about what a company is putting out there in terms of communication, or we should be able to figure out who they're trying to target based on what communication they're using, because the two should align, right? Or else they're wasting a lot of money. Positioning puts a product in a certain thought process, certain point within that market of prospective buyers, right? That communication. So we can do it by attribute, looking at that coach, or we can do it by looking at competitors, right? Competitor strategy. And that's where we come back to our marketing mix: product, price, promotion, place. So we might use product attributes as part of a broad campaign, right? So here we've got, again, Apple versus Android. Right? Does anyone remember how many views the coach had? Anyone remember how many? Forgot to write it down. Now, this is from a third party, at least 30. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. 63, yeah, which just really amazes me anyway. But yeah, so a lot of times it could be Android, it could be Apple, but Apple and Android, right, are being put into the forefront with a lot of third-party communication. That's what Caroline was saying about influencers, right? The way that we sell products, that we communicate attributes, right, has changed in the last 10 years, right? I mean, 10 years ago, we didn't talk about influencers, right? It was, okay, we used our traditional mix. Yes, we did use things like YouTube and social media, but the spokesperson concept of the influencer wasn't as developed as it certainly is now. So influencers, we can put in by application, right? Solving a product. So here's that example of our laundry detergent that is specifically geared towards sports enthusiasts. That's the segment that they're trying to attract. And so as a promotion, they're kind of saying, okay, this is why it's special, right? This is why it works. This is why, you want to pay more for it. This is why you want, so in this case, it's by application. It's solving a problem. So the communication is going to educate, right? So social media, many different ways that are the 4 E's of social media. In this case, we're educating the consumer on why our product is better than other choices. We can position by product user. Boston Whaler Boat, right? This particular communication, right? We can watch a video as part of that, pretty standard stuff, and then bring in all of the people, give a visual component to, okay, here's why we're good, but it could have done like Lynn did, saying, 1, 2, 3, 4, here's the attributes of our product, but instead it's kind of saying, okay, here you go, here's the people who are, using our product, why it's so good, and then ask you to watch a video besides. Now, it's kind of interesting that a couple of them do have life vests on, so they maybe should have had those zipped out. But anyway, has anyone ever been on a Boston Whaler type boat? A Mercury motor. Oh, okay, just wondering. Yeah, it's a very specialized boat. Right? You've never heard of it? I guess I used to work in the charter fishing industry for a while, so yeah, I knew you worked at Mercury Marine just from homework, right? So yeah, so you have a partnership with Boston Whaler, Mercury Marine. All right, perpetual map, right? So we've taken a look at different ways that we look at different brands, and a perpetual map is another way of taking a look at all of that competition. And in this particular instance, it's going to be by price and by quality. So for example, and I'm going to have you guys maybe do this, like if I said, okay, where do you think, if I did have you like take our little pencil and say, okay, where do you think Land Rover would come in here? So, okay, so we've got higher and lower price, so higher price, and then we've got higher and lower quality. So Land Rover, maybe we would go there, okay? So, yeah, and maybe even higher, so if I said, where do you guys think Tesla would come? So go put like a blue dot where you think Tesla as a whole would land. Where do you think Tesla would go in terms of pricing? And again, like if we had hard data, we would know for sure. But the thought processes, okay? So definitely in the higher price. What do you think Nissan? So there may be some past perceptions based, but Nissan, just again, as a brand as a whole. Okay, so yeah, definitely in the lower part of the price, good. Let's do 2 more. Let's do 2 more. Kia. What do you think Kia goes? Yeah. Understanding there's going to be fair amount of perception, depending on experience. There you go. Oh, excellent. So yeah, definitely on the lower side of the pricing, and then again, and part of it is you know, what particular product of Kia, right? There's many different models of Kia, so depending on what's popping into your mind is how you're going to, All right. Oh, we've been dealing with Ford. Let's do Ford. So let's say Ford relative to the Ford truck. Let's look at the specific truck. So where do you think their trucks align with others? Now let me ask you this. You guys who are doing the solid box, how did you get that solid box in there? What did you use to get the solid box in this? Like, did you just take the text thing and?
If you go to the line tool, you can make boxes and shapes.
Oh, no, I've never ever used the line tool. Oh, now I can make my arrows. Thank you.
It is nice because I can't draw straight.
Yeah, no, I can't either if you haven't been able to tell. I'm like, oh, yeah, you know what? And it's sitting right in front of me, but I
You can
guess
also change the color as well. So
yeah,
sometimes like everybody will pick a different color so you know who's doing what.
yeah, we've got, yeah, color over on the side here. We've got, yeah, a red. But, yeah, you know, I never thought of that line tool. Oh, excellent. I love learning new things. Ooh, yeah. This probably could like come into some type of psychographic component in terms of creativity. Yeah, creativity. Awesome. All right. There, we all learned something new today, except for Caroline. All right, I'm going to clear these, just so you know.
I learned it in this semester at least. So.
In where? In what? Another?
And like other classes, other people were doing it. So
Oh, interesting. Cool. Love it. Love it. All right, let's look at repositioning, right? Sometimes we have to change our strategy, right? So repositioning is just like it says, we kind of reset and redo. So Subway, right, actually is trying to do this, right? They're trying to reposition themselves as being a healthier choice. First of all, why do you think Subway? Don't bring bacteria. Yeah, their spokesperson, yeah. It worked at the time. It was a very good marketing concept at the time. Jared worked well for them. Jared worked well initially. Um, yeah, it was huge and very successful marketing at the time. That that is one of the downfalls of using a spokesperson, though, because you're right. If something happens, like from a spokesperson standpoint, um, you know, they get into trouble, then yeah, it reflects back on the company. And that's why you'll find with, especially a lot of the sports stars and that where they'll have clauses as part of the spokesperson agreement. Oh, who was the, can you hear me now? Darn it. You know, I can remember the ad, but I can't even remember the product that it was. The first self, Verizon. Oh, good memory, guys. Yeah, I'm surprised that the legal contract did not address switching ships. Someone dropped the ball on the legal end because typically they'll make a non-compete. Oh, interesting. You guys are a wealth of knowledge tonight. Oh. So, what ways could Subway try to reposition So, yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised that that even was available as an option. Yeah. So bread alternatives. Yeah, maybe different types of meat, maybe. Yeah, so, yeah, which actually, Subway does have a great salad. Like you can take any of their subs and make them into a salad. It's, I don't know, like $1.50. Um, but it is like really good. I mean, at least the ones I've had were like super good in terms of a salad, and they weren't all that pricey. I was kind of surprised. Um, yeah, I wonder why they don't have mushrooms. I don't know. That's a great question. Um, yeah, going into maybe some of the specialty. The unwit. Yeah, so, yeah. Yeah. Now, part of it, other than getting into the mushroom versus non-mushroom, I won't even get into the onion question. All right, we won't go into onions. Do they have onions at Subway? I'm trying to think. Can you do raw onions? Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. Black olives or no black olives? All right. Okay. You get, onion and red. If they have both, they don't see. All right. I can see it's going to be. All right. Here's your homework. Let me close out this chapter. You guys are very chatty tonight. All right. Homework 9. Choose one. Right. So you can either do number 1 or number 2, whichever fits best for the company that you've chosen, right? So pick a product and suggest how they might reposition a particular product that maybe is not performing as well or service, or do that perpetual map, keeping price and quantity with 6 brand competitors. So that's it. Whichever one you like to do one for homework chapter 9. Do you guys need a quick break? Okay, let's take a quick 4-minute break. I'm going to give you 4 minutes, and then we're going to go into chapter 10. Okay, so 4-minute break. Returning 7:15. Run. Yes, run. 7:15 return. So it's like NWTC, like our Northwest Technical College, are they all there at the conference?
Yeah, so it's all 16 of the technical colleges in Wisconsin have representation there, and it's essentially a big conference on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. They do it yearly, and it kind of rotates around. But yeah, we're at Northeast Tech for it. So
Okay, interesting.
yeah,
Great.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of would be more fun if there'd be exciting things going on this weekend, but there really isn't. Kind of a down weekend in Green Bay here. All right, let's get some research done. So chapter 10 is market research. One of the biggest challenges we have is we have too much information, right? There's so much information that's available that we have to try to discern what data is important and what is just interesting. One of the nice things is in marketing, we can hire firms to get us specific data to help with this challenge and opportunity. So here's just some terms that I put in as part of a lecture, and I'm going to flip through them because I want us to get and do some actual work, right? So hands-on research when we're looking at marketing information is a process. Yeah. Oh, interesting. That's interesting. I didn't know that it was covered in other classes, so that's good to know. Right, so when we're looking at research, right, first we define a problem. I should really change this because I like to say define an opportunity, right? Because in marketing, I want us to look at opportunities rather than just problems, right? From our SWOT, right? What is an opportunity? So define an opportunity. So we're going to stick with McDonald's. We introduced the McTaco thought process in chapter 9. Let's go to a more defined segment though. So should McDonald's develop a keto-friendly sandwich? So we kind of throw out a thought process, right? So should we do this, right? Exactly, there are no problems, only opportunities. I agree. It helps with the thought process to view it as an opportunity. I think it expands the thought process more. So step 2 is we start to research, right? So I just listed some questions that we might start with the thought process, right? So what is the present competition in the fast food industry in terms of alternative sandwich offerings that would fit that, keto friendly? What population follows this dietary segment? Does the trend support the R&D cost? So do you guys want to go into groups, or do you want to do this? It is. So if you're looking for an option of a keto bundle, what are so where's it going to come from? It would be like the same concept of gluten-free, right? So here's what I'm going to have you guys do. We're not going to go into a group because I don't want to pop you in and out. But I'm going to give you specific duties. So you're going to open up a tab on your own. And Angela, Caroline, and Sean, right? Our first 3. I want you to see what information you can find out on this first one, right? So, right? Crystal, Ian, and Haley, I want you to find out information on number 2. So, and we're strictly going to look at the United States, right? So we're going to stick with the United States, right? Heather J. Nicole. You're going to do this one. I want you to think through this thought process. Just keto, right? So we're looking at a keto-friendly sandwich, right? So competition, doing anything like this? How big is the market for this? Physical building limitations. Oh, at first I did not understand what that chart was. All right, so Heather J. Nicole. Heather J. Nicole. And then Robin, Samuel, Scott, and Tim. I want you to look up the cost of a keto bun versus a traditional, okay? So whatever you can find on that, that is traditional, okay? I don't know what, so I want you to specifically look up fund. We know McDonald's has the resources, so. Okay, so you four on your own come back, so. Okay, so you four on your own come back, so I'm gonna give you 4 minutes to find this information. I'm not gonna put you in a group, and we're gonna come back, and each of you are gonna tell me what you found, right? So all of you will have to be involved in some way. 3 minutes. All right, it's 7:25, but if you haven't quite finished yet, that's okay, because I'm gonna talk for a little bit. First of all, I apologize. I should have defined what keto is before I sent you on that. So I'm sorry. Sometimes we get into the mindset that because we know it, we think everyone else does too. So, all right, so keto friendly is very low carb, right? So you tend to have higher fat, moderate protein, very low carb, right, in terms of what is considered keto friendly. So let me ask you this. Do any of you, who here knew what keto was? Did you know what the concept was? Okay. Um, does anyone here follow keto as part of their everyday? Okay. So Scott, you've done it for a while. Yeah, Crystal, I'm in the same boat. I followed keto for years. Yeah. Um, okay, so Nicole, yeah, so I've been in keto for years and years. Um, yeah, I, to be honest, I'm kind of surprised that I do either because before, like, I was definitely, like, I bake my own bread, which is like so good. But yeah, okay, interesting. Um, yes, and it does have something to do with fat because when you follow keto, you are so low in carbs, your energy source comes from fat because it's high fat. So yeah, it's totally a different way that your body utilizes energy, right? So it's kind of different in that respect. But so let me see. So Caroline said, and Chong too. Let's see. Angela, did you find anything different than what Caroline and Sean kind of put in before I asked the question? Okay.
Oh, oh, I found, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I found that like at Firehouse Subs in Chipotle, they have bowls instead of sandwich. You can have a bowl. And then
Okay.
at Marco's, you can have like crustless pizza. I mean, which is not a sandwich place, but then I know also what is it? Papa Murphy's, they have that crustless pizza too.
Yes, which if you've ever not had it, it is super, super good.
I saw that too, but we were looking for sandwiches, so I focused on a sandwich. There were like keto options like everywhere where you could just, take out the carbs as an option or do like a bowl or something. But I
Yeah.
couldn't find anything directly for a sandwich unless you're talking like Red Robin's where you're doing lettuce instead of a bun. They have something called a wedgie.
Yeah, which are quite yeah, I have not been able to find where you actually have a sandwich on bread or a bun that's keto friendly,
They
right?
offer keto buns in the store because I eat them because they're lower calories
In a
than
grocery
regular
store.
bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a
Yes,
grocery
yeah.
store,
More
but no
available.
fast food. No fast
No
food.
fast food. Yeah, no fast food. I have not found one yet, but no, you can find keto in the store everywhere. Um, Multiple versions, right? But yeah, I have not found a sandwich in fast food yet. Um, yeah, the crustless pizza is really good. It's pizza without a crust, so you get like all the cheese and the
Or
meat
you
and
could
the.
do cauliflower based pizza. If you guys know Eaton's, mostly in Fond du Lac and Oshkosh, they do a crust. Well, not a crustless. They do like a cauliflower base
Yeah.
for pizzas.
Yeah, there's tons and tons of options, but yeah, there is nothing out there that I've found that actually uses a bun because it is not the same um, sometimes without the bun. It's harder to eat. You can't eat it in the car. So yeah. So what, our second group, all right, so Crystal, Ian, Haley, what did you guys find out what population follows keto in the United States. What kind of stats did you guys find? And they might not be the same. Okay, 7%. Oh, interesting. Between 35 and 54, 23 million. Wow, that seems, I guess, well, 330 million people in the United States. That is about 7%. Gosh, that seems very high to me. I wonder if it's true, right? I guess, and I say that because sometimes, yeah, our data is, we might say that, but it's trending downward. That is interesting to know. It is a little harder to sustain. Okay, 12.9 million people. Okay. So 2018, so now it's going up, but now maybe going back down. So maybe it's kind of like a fad thing or whatever. So that would be information that we'd want to know, right? Because if I'm McDonald's, maybe I would look at is why is it trending downward? And you know, is it just because it's hard to do, whatever, you know, find out the root cause of the trend downward. And is there still enough of a market, you know, as far as, you know, blame it on COVID, that it, I know, it's part of the generational, when we look at the generational cohorts, yeah, part of the generational cohort, blame everything on COVID for, are there physical building limitations? Yeah, I mean, keto's been around forever because it's used in epilepsy treatment. Yeah, epilepsy treatment. So it's been around for a long time, but so what? Jay, go on.
Yeah, I didn't know what keto really was. Like I've heard of keto as long like with every other diet thing, but I never
Yeah. So do you think there'd be any problems?
cooking
Physical
with it. And
limitation?
to me, it doesn't seem. Yeah, it.
I just lost you. Yeah, you're cutting. Yeah, you know what? I mean, here's the deal, right? A lot of places, right, have gluten-free buns, right? Culver's would be an example of one. It really wouldn't be any different than a gluten-free bun concept. You're carrying a special bun, and in fact, it is easier than gluten-free because gluten-free you've got to separate and make sure that it's not cross-contaminated. Where keto, it's not a big deal if you know if it's put by other buns. It just you have to make sure and use the right one. Yeah, Jade.
Yeah, hotel Wi-Fi kicked me off. Sorry, I don't know how much I got heard, but it sounded like it's a lot of just ingredient switching. Doesn't seem to be physical changes in how it's cooked.
Yeah, you know, so it's kind of an easy from a physical and from an operational side. It actually might be kind of easy, you know, in cooking and producing, making sure that the product. Probably the hardest thing is making sure to not mess up which bun is being used because there is a very different taste between a keto bun and a regular bun. And then our fourth group, on our fourth group, what were you guys able to find some costs on a keto bun versus a regular bun?
I seen about for 8 bun packages, around $4 for the standard buns and about double for keto ones.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if you can get it for just double, that's a fantastic price. Because I'll pay like sometimes 3 times.
Yeah, definitely seen more.
Yeah,
a lot
it's
more.
definitely more costly. But I mean, really, if you think of it, okay, so if it's adds, 50 cents to the cost of a sandwich, that's really not all that much, because everything else is the same, right? Whatever's your inside would be the same. So we've got some research done. There's our step 2. So our step 3, right, we're making assumptions, right? We know in the real world it would be much more than this. We would formulate a hypothesis. So we would say, okay, with the information we know, tentatively, do you think that we should go forward with some more research, right? So should we say, okay, we will go forward with developing a keto-friendly sandwich and then go into another round of research, right? So that research might be asking current customers, right? Doing some kind of survey with the current clientele, right? So, would you be interested in a keto-friendly quarter pounder at this price point? And then you gather another set of data with whatever it is, right? So you poll them and, find interest. And then maybe the next round says, okay, well, if you're interested, would you pay $3.50 for this sandwich? Would you pay $4? So you would maybe start to work on a price point as well for that. So once you kind of worked through that hypothesis, right, and started to test the hypothesis, right? Yeah, where it would be, or maybe what it is is maybe it comes up with an entirely different sandwich, or maybe you just have it as kind of like where you can swap out a bun, right? So like pizza, you can swap out a gluten-free crust for $2 more. Well, maybe you swap out a keto bun for $1 more. Maybe that becomes an option based on some of the, the answers that you get in step 3, engaging interest. So step 3 is going to kind of say, yep, we can continue to work with this. And yeah, that's what I do too, Robin. I just bring stuff with me when I go to restaurants and just order it and then make it to whatever I need it to do. But it's kind of a pain, and so I can see why. I mean, it's a hassle, or I just don't eat the bun. But yeah, if I can, I'll adapt it to how I need to. But it takes a lot of forethought, and that's not always, my strength. But so once we kind of gather some more of that data, we can actually start to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make a sandwich, and we're going to bring it to the test kitchen, and we're going to start the review process, right? So how do you think that if we bring it to a test kitchen, what happens from there? What would be some ways that we could get some real data with whether this is a good sandwich or not, or whether this is a good bun or not? What might be some methods that they might do for that? Yes, Caroline.
Kind of like Quick Trip, where they just use like pilot locations to kind of test it out, instead of doing it like, the whole franchise. They just pick select locations and just see how it works.
Yeah. So how do you think they might pick which test markets?
Near Whole Foods.
Yeah, they would come back to that segment and try to figure out, is there some geographic data that, okay, you know what, there is a higher percentage of people that follow and it doesn't even need to be just only keto friendly. You could just bring it to the low carb option, right? And label it as a low carb option, which might resonate better with the general population as well, right? So maybe part of it is we're figuring out that we're going to rename it something different. But maybe figure out, okay, where's there a way that we could test this where, maybe, Mesa, Arizona has a higher population of low carb people, so we're going to go there, right? Yeah, exactly. You can be really innovative on this type because, um, it's something way out there, and there's innovation here. No one else is doing it, and maybe no one else is doing it because they've gone through these steps and figured out that it's not worth it, right? And that's where, they've gone through the test kitchen stage. They've, gone through and said, you know what, I don't think this is going to work for us. However, maybe not. Maybe this is completely a new area. I have to say that just because of the product offerings in the grocery market that are there has to be enough of a percentage of the population because they're high dollar items that are being put onto the market. Yeah, my son loves the McRib too, so he's a fan of barbecue. Right? So this is the process, right? You research it, come back, figure out. So maybe we go to that. Yeah, so it's $6 for a loaf of bread. And there's 10 different types of keto bread now, like in the grocery store. So there has to be a significant, enough of a percentage of people that are buying this that would make it an opportunity just based on those offerings. But, right, so we didn't go into groups, but basically it's just a process, right? It makes sense. So we gather some information, we rework it, and then start our trial. So here's our homework, chapter 10. Very simple. I want you just to look at step 1, and in 1 or 2 sentences, what might be a possible question your company could research, right? So, should McDonald's look into a keto-friendly roll? That was our question. What might be a potential opportunity or a potential problem to be solved that could be your step 1 in our market research, right? So chapter 9, chapter 10 both have homework, but they're fairly straightforward. I will work on finishing up those midterm exams tomorrow and Saturday, so that way you have that. And if you have any questions on the midterm, once I have all of them graded, you'll be able to see my comments that are within the document. So, oh yes, okay, so does anyone here know where I met my husband? It was not the grocery store. So the grocery store was not correct. Anyone remember? At the fitness club, at the health club, at the gym, yes. That's where I met my husband, at a local health club. That's where I met my husband.
Can I make an argument that we are in a capitalist society and that health club was attempting to sell you things and therefore is also a grocery store?
It was a grocery. Yeah. I don't. If they were actually that they had a product with shelves, that maybe. Yeah, no. But I'll come up with another story to use for the final exam, Jade. I'll come up with another one. So I know, but hey, woohoo, yeah. Life has to be fun sometimes, right? All right. So I will get working on the rest of those midterms, and then if I have any issues I want to bring up, we'll talk about it next week. Next week is 2 product branding and new products. So we'll look at some branding stuff next week. All right. Any questions? Any questions? All right. Here's the deal. If you were here for the entire time, you guys can go. Jade and Ian, hold back just a sec because you came in late. So I'll tell you what you need to do to make up. And online students, let me give you the 2 keywords. So keyword number 1 is tomato. Keyword number 2 is staff. Tomato and staff are the keywords for our online students. And let's see, I have, am I correct? Were you guys about 30 minutes in? 30 minutes late? Were you really here this whole time? No, you weren't. Yeah, okay. I had it marked down at 30 minutes. I rounded up, okay? So Ian, about the same thing. I think you're like a little bit more. So Jay, can you, and you can knock it out right now, go into the discussion board, answer 2 of the questions there. Do 2 posts. It can be right now tonight, and then that'll be full credit. So what I will do is when I go and take attendance tonight, I'll mark your attendance as 16 out of 24. And then at the end of the week, when I go and look at the discussion board, I'll see your 2 posts, and then I'll flip it to 24 out of 24. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, and so by 2 posts, looking at the discussion board here, so it would like answer the question and then 1 reply to someone else?
No, you can answer question both. Oh, you can answer 2
Okay.
of the questions.
Just 2
Knock them
questions?
out
Okay,
right away. Right, 2, yeah, just put 2 posts out there, you're good to go.
sweet. All right, can do.
Okay, sounds good. Have fun at the, is your conference tomorrow yet?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Ian, so you heard the same thing for you because you're about that 30-minute mark. 2 posts. You'll see 16 for your attendance right now, but I will adjust it at the end of the week when I grade the discussion board. All right. Have a nice night. Until next time. Sounds good, Jade. Good night, Scott.